Hi, this is Josh from MoloSoft, and in this video we're going to have a deep dive into the MoloScope. The MoloScope is the feature in Mol 2010 that is the real workhorse. It has the most features, and therefore it's the thing that we should learn the most about. So in this video we're going to take a quick review of some of the best features that it has to offer. I'm going to fire up my demo application here. Happens to be a WPF program. As you can see, we have a pretty straightforward user interface, and it just has some information about a person and a list of children, and we're going to take a look at some of this data in Mol in just a bit. So I'm going to click the Edit button, and that's going to bring me to this breakpoint here in the code behind. So as you can see, we are stopped at a breakpoint here, and we can mouse over this, which happens to be a main window, a WPF window. I'm going to come down and open Mol 2010 for that window, and Mol is now open. As you can see, the element tree initially selects the main window, and the MoloScope here is displaying all of the properties on that main window. Snapshot window over here is displaying a visual rendering of the window at this point in time. So I'm going to come here and I want to search to find the list box. So I'm going to come to the element tree, type in list box into the search area, hit enter, and it's going to select the first match in the tree for list box, which is this list box that shows the children of Alexander Graham Bell. Okay, so we've found the list box that we're interested in, but as you can see, there's a bunch of properties here that are listed. More often than not, you have some properties that you're interested in seeing most of the time. So Mol makes it really easy for you to find those properties by having a feature called favorites. So if you click on the little star next to a property name, that star becomes yellow, and that means that that property is now one of your favorites. And let's say whenever you fire up the MoloScope, you want to see your favorites immediately. Well, what you can do is come up here, click on the favorites column to sort by that value, and then hold down Control and click on the name column to achieve a multi-sort where the first items listed are the favorites, and then within the group of favorites and non-favorites we then sort alphabetically by name. Okay, so there's probably a few other properties that we're interested in seeing a lot on a list box. So I'm going to click on this little magnifying glass in the name header, and most of the column headers have these magnifying glasses, the ones that you can search. And I'm going to type in, let's say, items, and let's say I'm interested in item source, selected items, a bunch of stuff that I normally look at for our list box. So I'm going to get rid of this filter, and now you can see that the MoloScope, when it's showing a list box, shows the properties I care about the most at the top. That's pretty convenient. Okay, so let's go back to this data context here. Data context is referencing an object that contains information about Alexander Graham Bell. So I'm going to click on the value to drill into that object. So I just drilled into the data context of this list box. And as you can see up here in the breadcrumb trail area, we just added to the breadcrumb trail an instance of our datalib.person class, as the tooltip says, which is just some class that I put together for this demo. So right now we're looking at the properties, the public properties of the person who is the data context of the list box. And if I decide to drill further in, I could just click on the, let's say, the children. And as you can see, he had 4 children, and each of them is listed based on their index in the children collection. So let's say I wanted to copy Mary Ann Hubbard Bell and their year and all that information about the person. I would right click here and say copy to clipboard. If I were to then fire up Notepad, you could see that that value was placed onto the clipboard, no problem. Let me just get rid of this here. Okay, so it's convenient to be able to drill into an item in a collection like this and then see all the properties on that person or that object, whatever it happens to be. But let's say I want to navigate back to that list and I want to view all of the properties on all of the objects in the collection at once. To do that, I come over to this View button, which is only displayed when you're looking at a collection of data in the MoloScope. And I'm going to click View, and we're going to get this Collection Data Viewer window to pop up. And you can see that all of the properties, public properties, on all of the objects in the collection are now displayed. So let's say I'm really interested in this data, and I need to maybe pass it to somebody else so they can take a look, or I want to save it for reference for in the future. What I can do is come back over here to the Export button, click that. Let's just save this CSV file to the desktop. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to double click on the CSV. So as you can see, the CSV file that was saved to the desktop was opened in Excel, and it shows all of the data that was in this collection. Okay, so now I'm going to drill back in the breadcrumb trail to the person, which is the object referenced by the data context. And as you can see, we have other properties that we could drill into, or we could edit, such as the gender property. I can click on this, and since it's an enum, then I can just select the value from the enum that I want to use, and that will actually go and update the object live in the program. Now, of course, Alexander Graham Bell probably wouldn't like it if I called him a female, so let me change it back to male. Okay, I'm going to go back to the list box now by clicking on the item in the breadcrumb trail. And as you can see, the item source property has this indicator in the binding column called drill. So if a property is bound in WPF or Windows Forms, you can click on this drill icon to drill into the binding. So you see on the breadcrumb trail here, this item got added, but it's actually a binding expression. So we're drilling into the binding expression, not to the object that is the result of the binding. So now I'm looking at a binding expression, and I can also, if I wanted to, look at the parent binding. And this contains all of the familiar properties of WPF binding, like the path and the source, and all of the things that you can use to configure a data binding. So if you're having problems with a data binding in your WPF or Windows Forms application, Mole can really help you while you're debugging to understand exactly what's going on inside those bindings. Well, I hope that this has given you a taste for the power of the MoloScope, and I look forward to showing you more about the MoloScope in future videos. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.